And yeah, so could you also, you touched on this earlier, but can you explain like what your Beast Academy books are and like how they're so uniquely effective at helping these young students learn mathematics?
So we have two types of books for Beast Academy. The textbook is actually a comic book. And you might think, oh, you're doing it as a comic book just so it can be fun and it can be pretty. And that's certainly a factor. But we also used comic books for some pedagogical reasons. First is, if you've ever worked with a third grader, you cannot lecture a third grader. It does not work. You need to have a conversation. With a comic book, we can simulate those conversations. So we have a bunch of monsters in the comic book, and they're in a classroom setting, or they're out in the playground playing, and they're modeling a lot of the behaviors we want students to develop while they're struggling with challenging problems. They're enjoying the mathematics, which I think is really important to show kids, other kids enjoying and finding joy and love of exploring hard problems, of being okay with being wrong sometimes. That's totally fine, but you need to teach a 9-year-old that, especially if they've learned that it's not okay to be wrong. So there's a lot of this sort of kind of emotional attachment that students will start to develop with the characters, with the space. And then second is, with a comic book, you can do things visually that are just harder to do smoothly in a textbook. Yes, you can draw a picture, but when the picture is integrated into a story, it's easier for a student to really digest. And then, of course, we knew we were going to go digital someday. So we have an online learning system now. And if you're going to go digital, like, you can't go digital with black and white worksheets. Just, that's not going to work. But speaking of worksheets, like, that's still part of, the kids need to grab a pen, grab a pencil, and do the problems. That's where they're going to learn. That's where they're really going to learn.